I get his sense that he's got a right to that opinion. Where do you feel, however, this sits within the BBC's own template of what is meant to be acceptable?
Well, I mean, it is a frightfully difficult issue, isn't it? Because you're talking about free speech. But I think the first tweet was okay, was within the rules. I think the second one about four chaps is outside it. Let me read it specifically, the four things that I think apply to Gary Lineker and other high-profile presenters. Do treat others with respect, even in the face of abuse. Don't use offensive or aggressive language, and do conduct yourself with courtesy. Do take particular care when commenting on the issues that provoke the greatest debate. And finally, the fourth thing, there are more, but the fourth thing is don't attack individuals even when you disagree with their views. Now, I think that second tweet is clearly in contravention of whatever, whether you think these guidelines are fair or not, it's in contravention. And it's a real problem for the BBC. I mean, it's the last thing they want. The new chairman who's just been appointed is going tomorrow before the DCMS Select Committee in the Parliament, and I bet he'll be asked about it by the Tory members at least.
I would have thought so. I mean, when I worked at the BBC, Roger, I can remember one of many specific... You know the BBC well, that it takes nothing for the BBC to convene a meeting, and some chap came down from Lord knows where with an impressive title that nobody had ever heard of. He's woken up from 10 years of being anonymous within the corporation, and told us all that, you carry a weight of responsibility wherever you go, whether you're out with your friends, whether you're on social media, you represent the BBC. I was there in a freelance capacity, but nonetheless, I was still included in that, as is Mr. Lineker. Also, he's not staff, he's freelance. So I do wonder whether he is being treated slightly differently on these things, or whether do the BBC need to clarify again as to what their rules are?
Well, I mean, they had one go at it, and it was as clear as mud to me, frankly, a lot of the differences. Look, there are three groups of people here. There's the news and current affairs, and the BBC has to be ruthless. Anybody who expresses their views on a issue of debate or whatever, out. Then there are people who appear occasionally, and of course, monstrous to interfere with their rights to say what they think, just because they're going to appear on a comedy show or whatever. But then you hit this middle ground of high... presenters who are extremely prominent. They may not be on staff, but they are regarded by the public as representing the BBC, so that when they say something, it's inevitable that people have doubts about BBC's impartiality. Now, I think Gary Lineker is putting himself before the BBC. The BBC's got enough trouble. The licence fee has gone down by, at least in real terms, 30% over 10 years. There are further cuts to come as a result of the latest licence fee increase, which is below what the government had in effect said it should be. Yeah. There are massive problems. You're running up to a general election within certainly within next year. This matter is of the question of Rwanda is of central political importance and debate. He shouldn't have done this, and he's given a massive headache to the BBC. They can't ignore it. What do? But if they decide he has, broken the rules, do they say this is a yellow card next to the red card, or do they say it's a red card? If they do that, then if last occasion when this happened is any guide, people like Alan Shearer and others will say, well, we're not going on the programme if Gary goes on. And, there'll be a lot of trouble that way. But I don't see how the BBC avoids it. I mean, it has to stand up for impartiality. And in my view, Gary Lineker, with his second tweet, has clearly, broken the rules.